Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing well. Hope you guys can subscribe. If you guys can hit the like button, that'd be great. Hit the comments. And, hey, man, we're still dealing with all the ramifications of the Ramsey-fications is really what we're dealing with. Jalen Ramsey wants the holy hell out of the Miami Dolphins, apparently, or it's mutual. I'm sorry. I don't mean to swing it somewhere else where it's not. He didn't demand a trade. It's just both parties find it best to move on. And I gotta say, man, yesterday was a strange day in Dolphin land. It really was. To one of many that have been there, and especially since the end of this season. This Dolphin season has been a nightmare. And honestly, it really feels like it needs something to get it fixed. I don't know what that is. I don't know what the draft piece is that gets it done. I don't know who the person is that the Dolphins select that gets anybody in a good mood right now. I don't think any of that's going to happen until there's real actual football being played, because everybody is really downtrodden right now with good reason. With good reason. The frustration is more than deserved for the front office, for the head coach, for the players, because there was something about the Dolphins fan that really there's always that whole "that's so Dolphins" thing, and the most pessimistic of pessimistic rat bastards of everything. You don't think anything's going to work. It's a lot harder to be optimistic than it is pessimistic when it comes to your sports team. You know, if you think, because for the most part, only one team wins, and only one team is able to basically hold up and say, you're right. There'll be ones who take baby steps, and there'll be ones that can go through. But basically, as a cycle of football fan, you have when you're actually contending, and then if you're not the champion, you're miserable. Go see the Philadelphia Eagles. They all wanted Nick Sirianni fired. And now finally he's got a ring to keep people at peace for a little bit. But if he was in the NBA, I mean, that'd be like a year that he gets as a mulligan year. Then you have the AFC, which basically has all been bowing down to Patrick Mahomes. Then under that, you have the teams that are trying to get to Patrick Mahomes in the AFC, which are, your perennial playoffs, your Baltimores, your Buffaloes. But even they're going to have a point where that's going to get pretty old. And can any of these guys beat Patrick Mahomes? You probably have your outskirt team there of the Bengals, who feel like their talent is better than where they were last year. A lot of one-score games. Some things breaking their way. But all those teams, they're in a pretty good spot right now, but they're going to get restless. Even Detroit fans getting to a point where, like, Detroit has been a doormat for the league. They're going to even get to a point where, like, oh, well, when's the time when we actually get over the top? Is Jared Goff going to be that guy who gets it done for us? LA didn't want him to be that guy. And then you have the time where you have the rookie quarterbacks, the young quarterbacks, where you just got your easy breathing. Houston and Washington right now is in a beautiful place where you have no problems. You get to add pieces. You get to beef up your team. The Bears are doing it right now with Caleb Williams. And then comes the time to determine whether or not you got to pay your quarterback and what that's going to do for your franchise from then on out. Is that the right guy to go with? So Chris Grier speaks on this yesterday, and he talks about the extensions that he gives out, and basically is like, oh, anything in hindsight, could have gone, you could make, but those guys are in those contracts, so like wasn't trying to be a sourpuss about it, but felt very much in the realm of like, do I wish I could have some takebacks on it? Maybe, like he didn't say it, but you kind of felt it in the tone. But the one thing that really stood out, and I think everybody made point of this, was his leadership comments, right? And that he was asked about the idea of losing Teron Armstead and Calais Campbell, and now possibly Jalen Ramsey, and maybe Tyreek Hill, and where the Dolphins are in leadership. And it was crazy to hear him struggle to not only name players, not only leaders, but players almost, because like he starts off and he's like, Zach Sealer is a leader, right? And then he goes, to name a few. I'm like, well, you named one. And then he veers off into the cheetah. He says Tyreek Hill is a leader, which I'm like, Am I taking crazy pills right now? Did you guys just not have a talk with him about walking off the field? And I think he names Waddle, which I'm not here to tell you whether or not Waddle is or is not a leader, but he wasn't the captain. They voted Tyreek Hill the captain, so I don't know of Jalen Waddle to be a leader or not be a leader. I know he is really fast. He's fun. He does the best celebration in the sport, and he does the fins for the win thing, which I always find delightful. And I'm a big fan of Jalen Waddle. I like Jalen Waddle, but I've never thought of Jalen Waddle and thought, damn, leader. And he's also young. He's for the record, is a young player. So that's part of it too. Zach Sealer has said, he had to grow into leadership as well. But I just found that very odd. But very noticeable in all of that was he never mentioned his quarterback. It is noticeable. It is noticeable. It's impossible not to have it be noticeable. And the thing that I find strange about it is all we've heard over these last couple of years is what a leader Tua has grown into. Mind you, remember it used to be a big thing that Tua was not a captain, that he didn't feel the right to speak up for it. He didn't throw his name in the ring for it. He wasn't interested in being a captain or didn't feel like he was worthy or bestowed. And then eventually when Mike McDaniel got here, he was a captain. It was a big, Tua's a captain now. And Tua's one of our leaders. And Mike McDaniel has empowered him in every way. We've heard publicly that he is a leader. But why is the general manager not listing him there? And the reason, you may say, Tobin, you're nitpicking, you're looking too much into it. I don't think I am. I think everybody noticed it. And I don't even know if it is so much an indictment on Tua's leadership as it is maybe the team and the franchise having buyer's remorse, knowing that they messed up in giving him the extension because they got bit in the ass with the durability thing last year. And I'll tell you something that was interesting. Last year, right? He gets hurt. Nightmare. Throws his head right into Damar Hamlin, and he's out. But the thing that was crazy about it was Tua comes back from that injury, and he basically tells everybody, I shouldn't have been on IR. He's like, I felt fine the next day, right after it happened. I knew everything that happened. I shouldn't have been. I don't want to be the poster child for concussions anymore, which I would understand not wanting to be, but he is. It just is what it is right now. I don't even know if there'll be a more famous case of somebody who will come along and be more of the face for concussions than Tua Tagovailoa. So I get the frustration, but it is what it is. He is. And then you add on top of it that he has the hip injury on top of that to end the season. So you lose 6 games of Tua. Everybody's biggest concern, even the biggest supporters of Tua. I said, you got to pay him. You should pay him. Tua, and you felt like when he got the money, there was an empowerment. There was a swagger that he had about him when he got the money. Some things were dopey, like the show me the money thing, but whatever. He had a cool moment. I was there the day that he got his extension. I remember it being a very cool day that he got there. His family's there. His kids are there. It was an adorable moment. But the nightmare scenario would have been the first year you give him the deal. All right? The first year you give him the deal, he misses a good amount of time. And he did. He missed a lot of time. And there also seemed to be some disagreement between the player and the organization how much time he should have missed. Should he have ever gone on IR? He didn't really think that he should have. But the Dolphins know, because of what happened 2 years ago when he got hurt and knowing all the scrutiny that came with it, every time that happens, he's going to have to miss that amount of time. You can't just do whatever medical doctors say. You're going to always err on the side of caution with him, which I'm not saying is not the right thing to do because I understand it. That's what his past is. But even when he disagrees with it, and I feel like that's something that could cause a lot of tension in an organization. And then you also have to add on top of it, you have a star receiver in Tyreek Hill, who's gone to bat for Tua. To be fair to Tyreek, he's taken a lot of criticism in his career with these last couple of years. But he was playing through an injury last year, played through a bad wrist injury, obviously affected his production. He always went to bat for Tua. He was, he did strike up the band, call your fantasy owners, we're going to have a hell of a year, Tua's back. So even last year. But now he's like, man, Tua's not there. Tua's not available. You have today, there was this weird exchange on First Take where Louis Riddick was basically saying, why do Jalen Ramsey and Tyreek Hill seem like they want out? He goes, there's got to be something in the background where they just don't feel like this is the place for them. And then Stephen A is like, well, do you think it's because they don't believe in Tua's durability? Like, this is one of those things where not that they don't believe him as a player, they don't believe in his availability. He goes, we're saying the same thing. He's like, I'm not going to, he's like, we're saying the same thing. So it was a weird exchange. You guys can go look it up. I was like, all right, that's kind of odd. Louis Riddick's always been an ardent Tua supporter, by the way. Always been an ardent Tua supporter. Big Tua backer. And then, of course, you have the big thing that was noticeable this year with the Dolphins' holes and needs. The Miami Dolphins did not touch Tua Tagovailoa's contract. They did not restructure it. They did not move money around. They just kept it for what it was. And you have to ask yourself, why? And I know he gave an answer to this yesterday about why they didn't, but it wasn't like, any insight. He was just like, yeah, because we felt like we were fine. We felt like we didn't need to.
Yeah, we decided we just felt we didn't need to. I think, James was a player we're very happy to get. We're still working through things roster-wise, and with the draft approaching, I would say, the strength of the draft this year aligns with where our needs are, where people would say our needs are. So from that perspective, we just felt that there was no need to restructure Tua and touch the contract, and that we could operate and keep building the team. And that whole process will continue through the draft like it always does with the June 1st and all that. And when we've done that throughout the years here.
But mind you, he says that they don't need that. This is the same press conference where he's telling you, woof, 10 picks better hit on these drafts. These guys better be NFL ready. They better be. And I was like, geez, all right. So what is that? It's not like he didn't know the leadership question was going to be asked. These guys have a media department. They get the rundown. You guys see how you've seen these behind the scenes NFL, how the communications department works. He knows this is a guy, and he's not Mike McDaniel either. Like, he doesn't talk basically when the season goes, he doesn't talk basically every day. Or Mike McDaniel talks, 4 days a week, including game day. He talks 2-3 times a year, basically. He's going to talk pre-draft. He's going to talk post-draft. And he's going to talk sometime in the combine and the trade deadline, right? Like, it's not very much. It's not very much. A handful of times you get Chris Grier all year. And he knows, and he tried to get out in front of it, right? Like, he tried to get out with the Jalen Ramsey thing. He was trying to put as much clarity out there to him. But there's also just something, everybody just kind of, there's just something amiss. There's something that's there. Because, like, to have that leadership quote, to not mention your quarterback, first of all, off the bat, not to say, hey, we got a quarterback we believe in, who's our leader. It's tough being a leader when we don't know your availability, right? And I'm not questioning Tua's leadership ability. I do think that people look at him as the leader. But you can't really lead if you don't know when he's available. You can't. He's still going to probably have a lot of pull in that locker room. But even the guys who have been his most ardent supporters, either in the media or publicly on his, in his wide receiver core, yeah, they'll still root for him when he's there, and they'll still, of course, back him. I'm not saying like there's a Tua mutiny or anything, but it was kind of noticeable. Like, man, not touching the contract. Got these stars who are ready to go. The Dolphins don't seem too gung-ho on loading up. Chris Grier kind of admits to buyer's remorse yesterday, and you leave him out on a list of leaders. You mention your defensive tackle, and you mention a guy who is literally getting ripped to shreds for his lack of leadership before you even mention the quarterback, who you never mention. Very strange. Very, very strange. Very noticeable. And, I don't know. This offseason just feels like, one for the ages for Miami, as far as like all of the dirty laundry dysfunction, guys trying to survive, guys trying to find their way or find a route out, all this stuff. Until the Dolphins get into the actual matter of winning football games, there's just a weird air about this offseason so far.